This is George Bayruthi from FS Securities giving you the market report for Monday morning. This is actually the market report what includes what happened the last few weeks and what we forecast what's coming the next few weeks. So please enjoy the presentation, and by the way, if you liked the presentation, give us some feedback if you like. First of all, we like to start with what happened over the last 2 weeks in the United States. As you can see here, the Dow over the last 2 weeks had 4.6% rise, 1.5% rise last week, and the week before was even better. And so is the Nasdaq 100, which is a technology index, and the S&P 500 index as well. So the US market had a very good 2 weeks combined. Volatility, however, is starting to increase. So it's very important to see that when volatility goes up, it means that there is some fear and less complacency. The US dollar over the last 2 weeks was up by nearly 0.9%, and the Australian dollar regained some ground. Now it's over 0.68, having fallen the last month below 0.68, that's 68 cents US. Alright, the euro is weaker and the yen is stronger. Actually, the US versus the Japanese yen is stronger. Gold down $22 over the last 2 weeks. Funny enough, silver, which usually runs in positive correlation to the gold, was up 5%, and whilst gold was down. Crude oil, that's the West Texas crude oil, up 5% over the last 2 weeks. Most of it happened last week with 2.9%. And by the way, all these other commodities, if you're interested to find out more about soybeans, for instance, wheat, corns, cocoa, you name it, all you have to do is call us and we'll help you how to trade them. Coming now to the local market, on the left hand side here, all the indices. The S&P 500, that is our gauge for our market, which consists of the top 200 stocks, is mainly combining the financial and the material. When you look at the financial and the material combined, it makes up nearly 60% or 50% of the overall market. When the financial sector and the material sector happen to be up on the rise, of course the overall market responds accordingly. Well, the financials over the last 2 weeks was up 2.2%, and the materials was up by 3.8%. And the S&P 200, that is the ASX 200, was up 1.9% over the last 2 weeks, 0.7% last week, and also in harmony with the US market, it actually responded better 2 weeks ago. So it's very very positive overall. And as you can see here, most sectors were up. The only one that was down was the real estate and communication. By the way, if you look at the right hand side, you can see that Telstra was down 3.5%. The reason for that is, by the way, is that the merger between Vodafone and TPG is actually going to the High Court, and it looks like they might win and get acceptance to the merger, despite the ACCC going against it. Okay, well now what we've got here is that Bramble was down nearly 15%, and CIMIC, the old Leighton Holdings, was down 4%. Worley down 5.5%. All the others were actually positive. AMP was up 4.5%. And you can see here that Newcrest Mines had a good 2 weeks. Despite the fall last week of 0.6%, overall over the last 2 weeks was up 6.8%. So we actually like to have a look at that helicopter view of the market by looking at what happened 2 weeks, overall the 2 weeks, and compared last week with the overall 2 weeks. On Friday night, or Saturday morning, we've seen the Dow was up 0.3% and the Nasdaq was down 0.2%, and BHP was down 0.3% on Friday, that's in New York, and Rio was flat. In Europe, the Stoxx 50 index, which comprises most European markets, was up 0.3%. FTSE also was slightly up, and so is the DAX in Germany. And as a matter of interest, as I mentioned, that even though Telstra over the full week was down 3.5%, it recovered on Friday with 2 cents to $3.61. 32% of our stocks advanced on Friday and 26% declined. Spot gold on Friday was down $11 US, and it got up to 1,515 US per ounce. And Bitcoin, we like to look at Bitcoin over the last 2 weeks, and Bitcoin was down 163 US and was trading around the $10,400, and that converts to approximately 15,206 Australian dollars. If you look at the volume over the last 5 days has been increasing, and the last 2 days on our market the advances were actually better than the declines. Overall, over the last 7-8 days, you can see most days had positive increases in the market, nearly 32%, 35%, as you can see here. So it's been actually a relatively good week. If you put the full week advances versus decline, you can see here the last 3 weeks the advances were better than the declines, recovering what happened 4 weeks ago when the declines were actually much higher than the advances. Now looking at our mechanical system, and that actually looking at the last 5 weeks, and we're trying to forecast what happened, to what is likely to happen the next few weeks. You can see that the market in America went from bearish to more bearish to neutral, slightly bullish, and now of course last week has actually pushed the market upward. Maybe that's probably because of the expectation that it will most likely the cash rate or the interest rate in America is likely to fall because of some data that came out over the last week. The American dollar is bullish. Australian dollar is starting to also be bullish after 2 weeks ago was very bearish for the aggressive trader. And our mechanical system differentiates between the investor, the long term, versus the very aggressive trader who happens to be a short-term trader. And of course we've got the conservative and the aggressive trader as well. So if you want to have a copy of this slide or talk to us about it, all you have to do is call us. In all the commodities, wheat and corn happen to be the most bearish commodities that we can see here, and so is sugar. Okay, this is looking at the Dow chart. You can see here that's the daily on the right hand side. It's been a very positive week, as I mentioned earlier. And also looking at the weekly, this is actually prior to Christmas, the market dropped quite a bit, and between January and March we've seen a recovery. We hit the previous peak down, and now we've exceeded, and the question is, will it go back to the 27,000? I think there is every chance it will, and on that particular forecast based on the mechanical system we've just shown you, it is very likely that we're going to see the market heading upward. Now looking at our market, all sectors for the very aggressive trader very strong with the exception of telecommunication. So if you are a very aggressive trader, we have a lot of opportunities for you. Or gold obviously is very good, so you look at Newcrest Mines for instance, you look at Perseus, Northern Star, all those minority companies that may do very well. And we trade CFDs, which is a very good leverage product that we can actually help you to trade as well. This is ASX 200 graph. The last 2 weeks have been green candles, very positive. And this is the daily. We managed to actually have a very good 10 trading days. Where could it go from there? Well, okay, you've got here a compression in the Bollinger Band, and we say in our education programs that when we have compression is most likely to have an expansion, and because the two green candles happen to be above the 21-day moving average, we think there is every chance that our market is going to continue to go higher. Despite the futures this morning showing that the market today on Monday is likely to drop by 7 points, however, overall we think because of the mechanical system that we have and looking at the chart that there is every chance that the market is likely to go higher this week. Mechanical system again, if you're going to trade our stocks, the top stocks, whether you're trading CFDs or options, we can see that for the aggressive trader, most stocks happen to be bullish with the exception of CIMIC, Telstra and Worley and TPG, which is TPM here. Again, we don't know exactly how the High Court is going to deal with the ACCC decision regarding the merger between Vodafone and TPG. However, we can actually perhaps look at other positions like Newcrest Mines is very bullish. We might like to trade that way, even for the investor as well as the aggressive trader and those in between. Santos looking good. Wesfarmers, Woolworths, Suncorp, all these companies happen to have very good forecasting results for the coming week. Okay, now to our CFD trading. I just want to tell you that we have another presentation that we sent yesterday where we've shown that at the moment, this was actually the last week when we showed you that we were up to 37%. I have some good news for you. Now that particular position is going up to very close to $6,000 with 66% profit. So at this stage I really want to actually go straight to the disclosure. That's our disclaimer. I don't know your financial circumstances, so before you enter any particular trade, make sure that you talk to us or talk to your professional advisor, because there is no guarantee in any instrument that you trade or invest into. And you have to be cautious because you need to know your risk and reward before you enter any particular trade. If you have any question you want to ask us, well, the next slide will give you our details. george@fssecurities.com.au. Email me directly, and you can call me. I'm available almost 19, 20 hours every day. If you're ringing from overseas, you put 61 first, 61 for the Australian code, and then you take the 0 out. That's my mobile phone. So 61-411-259526. Happy trading and have fun. I mean, if you don't have fun trading, don't do it.